Hey everyone, I'd like to welcome you to the cybersecurity presentation for parents. This is definitely not for kids, so if you have kids in the room or you're hoping they would learn something from this presentation, wouldn't recommend it. Uh, so my name is Michael Malton, and I am doing this as a school project. So let's get started. Yep, there we go. So the purpose of this, you know, it's to educate you, the parents, the guardians, the teachers, um, basically anyone that works with or has children, the dangers that kids face, online. And my goal is to present ways of you to help monitor and protect kids and offer some tools and ways you can talk to them about the dangers and what the dangers are. So before we begin, who am I and what makes me qualified to give this sort of a presentation? So my degree is in cybersecurity, um, but I'm also a professional. I've worked for the DoD for 11 plus years now. Um, I've worked in cybersecurity. Currently work in cybersecurity. I'm a learner. I'm constantly learning. Went back to school to get my bachelor's degree. I'm a new father of my first son. He's 1 month and 8 days old, so you might hear him screaming in the background. I'm a hacker. So I started off as a child, or as a kid, I should say, learning how to hack. I always wanted to learn ways of, a website shows you how to do something or, gives you information. Well, can I make that website do something that the person didn't intend to do? So hackers, we get a bad name of, people think of the bad guys going in there, stealing your data and doing all this bad stuff. And there are the bad ones out there. But they're the good ones that, all we want to do is we just want to tinker and figure out how things work and, see what we can make it do and help people fix things. Just like right now, I'm trying to help you keep your kids safe. I am also a CISSP. I just recently got that. It is a Certified Information System Security Professional. In my world, that is the top certification. It means that I've been tested on all the domains of cybersecurity, from the management side to the technical side piece of it. So there's my number. You can actually go to the ISC Square website and plug in that number, and it'll show you that I have a valid certificate. I've paid my dues. So I'm very, very proud of that. That was a lifelong goal for me. So, all right. So some topics that we're going to cover: just the facts, threats, best practices, home and mobile monitoring, communication, and then we're going to do a quick recap. As I have my notes over here on the side. So we'll go over here and we'll start with just the facts. So 30% of children 8 to 14 use the internet in a way they know their parents would not approve. So what ISC Square and they got with a company and they did a survey and they got a bunch of kids together and they asked them, all these questions. And of the kids, 30%, they flat out admit, hey, I am going online. I am doing stuff that my parents tell me I shouldn't be doing. And they're kids. They're going to do that. I'm an adult. You tell me I should not speed. The speed limit is 55. I'm doing 70. So it doesn't change. We tend to break the rules. So, but 30%, that's a big number. So that tells you that, if you have a child, there's a good chance that they are going to do stuff online that you just wouldn't approve of, and that could be going to adult related sites, or you just say, hey, you're not supposed to go to, this news site, and they go visit that news site. Uh, so it's a bunch of things. 5% reported being absent from school because they're online late at night. And so when we in the study, they saw this with older kids. So the older kids got it, the worse it gets. So what we're seeing is kids are staying up late past their bedtime, and it's affecting school. And so, like adults, if we stayed up and we partied all night long, how are we going to be at work? Well, we're probably going to miss work a lot. Or when we are at work, we're not going to do our best work because we're tired. 10% reported being late to school because, again, they're online and they're not sleeping. As adults, you should be getting, 8 hours of sleep. Best of luck with that. I have a newborn, and, if I get 4 or 5 hours, hey, I'm doing pretty good. So what's the solution? What can we do to fix this? Well, we can monitor what they're doing, and we can control what they're doing. We can control access to devices and provide education. We have to talk to them. We have to be able to explain to them why they shouldn't be doing this, and that's just it. So let's go into threats. Now, with threats, this is a tough subject, and it's not all doom and gloom, but we need to talk about it. We need to know what threats are presented to our children. And I guarantee you, in this hour or 2 hour conversation, I am not going to be able to cover all of them. But we will surely try, and hopefully I'll help you out. So what are the threats? We have oversharing of information. We have the worst, sexual predators. The common one, bullies. And we have sexting and gaming. So oversharing. Let's talk about oversharing. I'll give you a minute, and these are actual tweets that I found online. And so we'll look at this first one of, I'm not even know how to say that name, but this young lady gets a new credit card or debit card, and she posted online on Twitter. And everyone kept asking her, hey, show us the back of the card. And she did. And that is her actual card number. And she showed the picture of the back. Or no, this one, she said the security code was her birthday. Sorry. It was literally, I had tons of examples to give. And so she gave it. And man, you had her credit card number and you had her security code. Guess what someone did? They went online, they bought her some stuff, and they sent it to her house. We have another girl did the same thing. This was the one that everyone kept asking to see the back of the card, and she couldn't figure out why. So she did it. And she had to cancel the card. Why? Because she gave her card number, and they went and made a big purchase for her. And so what I'm trying to show here is kids really don't know. They don't know that you should not share this information. As an adult, we know this. But even as adults, we see the humor in, the eBay ads where someone takes a picture and, in the background, you can see, if the person wasn't wearing something or, something crazy. So being popular online is not always the best thing. They did not learn their lesson. And I promise you, if you go and do a Google search of, credit cards on Twitter, this will pop up. It was absolutely hilarious, really scary. So we need to talk to kids about how much they share online. So oversharing, they just need to be taught. Simply stop and think about what you're doing before you share. You need to let your kids know that, there's just certain things they should not share. Your age, your school, your address, phone number, last name, or even information about parents. And lastly, let's think about it before you post it. And in a world where going viral is a big thing, that's really hard to say. You got to think about this before you do it. But I don't. It's hard. Um, the thing we have to do is we have to get kids to realize that if they wouldn't go up to a perfect stranger and tell them this information because stranger danger and it's really creepy, why do it online? Why give these people this information? We've seen it with the was it the swatting, where they'll call the SWAT team and say, hey, there's someone being held captive at this house, and they send these police into this house and they rush it, and it's a kid playing a video game. And it's just someone got online, found their information, and thought it'd be hilarious to call the police on them like that. And it's ended up resulting in one child being shot. It's a scary thing. It happens. One of the things I like to do is I get on certain websites and I search for doxing, which is where you just post a bunch of personal information about people. And I've gone on there and I've seen information about the kids, the parents, grandparents, where they live, how much the house is worth, username and passwords. And so, I contact these parents and tell them, hey, someone like leaked all this information about you. You need to go report it, get this cleaned up. And you really need to talk to your kids because somehow they got this information, and it's kids are giving away too much information to where you can go search for it. And so if you give me enough information, I can go find out a lot about you searching through public records online. Social media. So social media is a weird one. The most popular ones, and everyone thinks Facebook. Facebook actually wasn't the most popular one. It was fourth in the list. Instagram, Snapchat, Vine, and then Facebook. Facebook is turning into a bunch of the older groups. Pinterest, Twitter, and Ask FM. So these are the big social media sites. You have new ones that are coming up. This survey was taken a couple years ago. So you have like a TikTok, which is really good. It's a video sharing one. And so these are the most popular ones. And these were popular with the 6th, the 8th graders. And when you get on these sites, your risk increases. And so what we're seeing is, especially on Instagram, lots of porn, lots of adult related stuff, and it's hidden. But if you know how to search for it, you can find it. Snapchat is obviously very big, and you can see a lot of big stuff on there. And the dangers with these is what kids are posting. They're posting videos of themselves and just giving away a lot of information. And so I always tell people, look at a picture and you see two things. You see what the user is trying to tell you, and then you see something that they forgot in the background. And so when I look at a picture, like right now you're watching a video of me. So you see me talking. What do I see? Well, I see the window in the background. Well, in the window, can I see something in the reflection? I see the blinds. Is there something in the blinds? Just looking beyond what's being presented in front of you. And that's where the thinker and the puzzle comes in. And so we just got to be careful about what they're posting. Now, a lot of social media, there is a law in the US, it's the COPLA, where websites can't gather information on kids under 13. So under 13, they're really not supposed to be on these websites at all. Well, parents either allow them to sign up or they just lie about their age. We see it on Facebook all the time. And so Ask FM is supposed to be really bad. I haven't looked into that one. Um, Pinterest, I haven't seen too much on Pinterest. Twitter is horrible. I see a lot of things on there. So when you're searching these, what I'll do is I'll search for key tags, or you can actually search by emoji. And so if you search by emoji, you will find some crazy stuff. And I see some of the things that kids are posting, and it blows your mind at what they're thinking about, and what they're willing to share on there. Um, so on Instagram, what I like to do is open up Instagram, go to search, and search by location, and just see what people put on there. And you'll see everything. I mean, whatever's nearby you, you'll be able to find it. So if I was a sexual predator and I wanted to find kids that were near me, well, just go on Instagram, search my location, and there you go. Within a 20-mile radius, those are all the kids I can see out in the public. Don't have to leave my house. Really, really creepy type things that you can, start thinking of. And your mind will just go into the worst places. So we have to be careful of social media. Even as adults, we need to be careful of social media. Single, stay-at-home moms, females, even us guys, we got to be careful. There's some crazy people out there. So most social media sites have default privacy set to open. So if you remember back when Facebook first came out, everything was public. So no matter what you posted, it automatically went to the public. You have to go in there and turn your privacy settings on. Since then, Facebook has gotten better and they're making it a little bit more private. Instagram, same thing. Anything you post is public. So the best thing to do is, if they have these accounts, is go in there, check the privacy settings, and turn it on. Don't share anything to the public. Make sure you're only accepting friends requests from people you know. And just lock it down as much as you can to where you can still have the fun with social media. You can still interact with your friends and your peers, but not everyone can see everything about you. Again, children under a certain age, they're not allowed to create these accounts, and parents are allowing it, and we need to stop them. There's a time to be an adult, and there's a time to be a kid, and now's the time to be a kid. So geotagging. Imagine this. So you are out and you take a picture of, a park. You send that picture to someone, and you can actually open up the image. It's called EXIF. And there's a website, or many websites, where you can upload a picture and it'll show you the EXIF data that's attached to the picture. And that stuff tells you what type phone you're using, or what type camera, or what type lens you were using. But it also puts GPS coordinates. So you can go on some sites, find these pictures that kids are taking, look at the data, and you have the GPS coordinates, down to a 5-meter mark of where they were at. So if you're trying to track down a child, that's a great way to do it. Some sites like Facebook, I think Instagram is now doing it. They're removing some of this data, but they're allowing you to keep it in there to where when you search for photos by location, that's how they do it. They're grabbing it off the picture. So geotagging it's just one of those things where you need to turn it off and just keep it off. Now, later on, what we're going to be talking about is some ways that you can monitor and kind of control your kids using technology. You need geotagging. So when you go to turn this stuff off, you have to be selective on where you turn it off. So Facebook, Instagram, turn it off. For the phone itself, you want to keep it on. Plus, if a child's ever kidnapped, geotagging is one of the things that they can use to help track down your kids. All right. So when I was making this presentation, and so once again, I'm doing this presentation it's my senior project for school. I have to cover every subject. We're talking about keeping kids safe, and this is one of those weird subjects I don't like talking about, but we need to talk about it. Um, so I'm sorry, but we gotta do it. This is the part where it's not for kids. All right, sexual predators. And the study I found was in 2010, 9% of kids reported who use the internet received unwanted sexual solicitations. It happens mostly in chat rooms, social media, and games. And when I say games, we're talking either your Xbox, your PlayStation, or on the phone and mobile games where they have chat rooms. I've seen this a couple times. There's a couple video sites where it's a cool concept that you can go on this site and you can talk to random people. And if you're social, it's really cool because you can talk to someone in another country, get to know them, customs, culture, and all this good stuff. And so the idea was great, but that was it. It just went south. You go on there and you'll see nothing but a bunch of kids, and you'll see creepy, people trying to get your kids to do things they should not be doing. And so one of the things, I worked on a project, and what we were trying to do was we'd get on the site and we'd find these creepy people, and we'd take screenshots and you'd kind of just blast them. And it's like, hey, someone, like, if anyone recognizes this person, like, this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to lure kids, or they're trying to get kids to do stuff on webcam, and it's just absolutely unacceptable. And these people didn't care. There were instances where I would just start yelling at people, cursing them out and just telling them how bad they are. And they would just sit there and smile at you and take a screenshot. And there was one that was an older gentleman, pictures of his kids in the background. And so, but he was on there trying to get kids to do really creepy stuff. So here's the good part, and it's not all bad news. So we saw that there was a decline 53% between 2010 or 2000 and 2010. I don't know what the numbers are currently. I would like to think that there's still a downward trend. Kids are getting a little bit smarter. They are more aware of, hey, I'm 16, 19, 30-year-old dude, you shouldn't be talking to me. So we're doing something good. They are getting the point across at some point. So the decline is nice. But the report says that most kids are pressured by other kids to post sexual content. And so when you get on video sites like TikTok, where they create these fun little videos to music in the background, kids are being pressured into doing other things that they shouldn't. And it's peer pressure, and it's getting bad. So if a child posts one sexual picture, what they're saying is the aggressor might engage in sextortion. And we saw this case a couple years ago. There was a girl who posted a picture, or took a picture, showed it to someone, and that person created a screenshot and showed it to her and said, hey, if you don't do more, I'm going to show this to your parents, to your school, to your grandparents, and they're going to be so disappointed in you and then so upset, so you just need to keep doing more. And the girl did. She absolutely believed it, and she kept doing more and had a mental breakdown. I think she ended up killing herself. And so we see this, and it's continued to go on. And it's highly illegal. And there's people that have been caught doing this and have been arrested. So we need to show kids that a screenshot is instant. So whatever you do in a second, we can capture it, and it's saved, and it will sit on the internet for a lifetime. So the best way to do this is, if your kid's on Snapchat, open up Snapchat and say, here, I'm going to take a screenshot. How do you stop me from doing that? You can't. You can sit there and yell at me, but it's too late. I already have it. Now what are you going to do? So, and that's where we need to show kids there's consequences for everything that we do. Even adults, you need to know what you post online. It can stay online, and it will spread, and you'll go viral for a wrong reason. You don't want that. And so we're seeing this on Twitter. Adults and these predators are seeking out kids, and they're acting like horrible stuff. Oh, sorry, went skip too ahead. But one of the things that we need to show is, who you're talking to might not be who you think you're talking to. I can sit there and say right now, hey, I'm a 13-year-old female. I live out of, Ohio, and I go to this high school. In reality, I'm a 38 male that lives out of Texas. You don't know who you're talking to online. And we need to get kids to realize that, just because they say nice things and they're nice and they say all the cool things doesn't mean they're cool. Doesn't mean they're actually who they are. So we have to be careful. All right. Bullies. Bullies is a fun one. Hold on. Try and get caught up on my notes. So, when we were going to school, and I graduated high school in 2000, and so really in 2000 you didn't have to deal with people online too much. It wasn't the cool thing to be online, not nearly as much. And so when we were in school, or even for you that are older, when you're in school, you didn't have to deal with the internet at all. Your bully was at school. That's basically it. You went home and the bully was gone. You just had to worry about when you went back to school. Now kids they can't escape it. They go to school, there's the bully. They get online, there's the bully. They go back to school, there's the bully. Like, it's a constant thing. And we see these people and they just get beat up online. And they will get other people to join in. Because when you're online, it's anonymous. It's not in person. The effect doesn't feel, I guess, as much. But man, you can never get away from it. And so when you can't get away from it, it drives you down and down and down until you hit rock bottom. So we need to talk about kids about bullying. So ensure the kids can confide in you and report what's happening as the biggest thing. They have to know that someone is there that's getting championed for them, and no matter what, they can come to you. And this is probably easier said than done. I will admit this. You can probably tell kids until you're blue in the face, and you just have to keep driving it home. Keep trying to tell them. If they are being bullied, save all messages, take screenshots of social media posts, pictures, text messages, anything, and show it to law enforcement. Show it to the school. Show it to both. Bring the law enforcement to the school and say, this is what's happening. We need to get this fixed now. Nip it in the butt before it blows up. And with all the new anti-bullying laws, schools are starting to get a little bit more serious about it. Use that pressure and just tell them, these people are not anonymous online. You can find anyone online. It doesn't take much these days. The law enforcement can do it. So go to them. Use that resource. Teach them how to block people online. Man, this is good for adults too. If there is someone bothering you online, all these social media sites, they give you the ability to block anyone. I think Instagram just recently released it to where you can block people. They don't even know they've been blocked. So they're still doing whatever they do, but you don't see it. You don't have to deal with it. They're gone. So teach your kids, if they're going to be on these things, how do you block them? How do you block someone? They're probably going to block you. It's going to happen. I've had friends, their kids block them on social media. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen. And the big one, make sure they know your kids. If they wouldn't say it to the person's face, don't say it online. It's that golden rule. Don't do to others what you wouldn't want done to you. And so we just got to get that point across to people. And this is for adults too. It's kids are just as bad, or we're just as bad as the kids. You have to be able to tell them that, if I wouldn't call you a butthead in face, why would I do it online? So it's easier online. I get it. And online, the keyboard warriors, they can talk tough. As soon as you get in their face, they're completely nice to you. So we need to teach kids that, you can't do that. And so let's be nice to people, and the world would be a better place. So signs of cyberbullying. These are not signs that I've come up with. These are signs that I found on a website. Anger, depression, frustration after using devices. If kid's in there looking at his phone, all of a sudden he's throwing the phone across the room, might have a problem. Or he could be playing a game. Stops using the device unexpectedly. I promise you, if your kid stops using their cell phone or tablet, you have a problem. Stops going to social media or playing games. Uneasy about going to school. Becoming more withdrawn from friends or family. So, there's just signs to watch out for, and it's not always easy, and they say that depressed people are always the happiest people. Look at Robin Williams. So it's really hard. So if you miss the signs, you can't beat yourself up. You just have to try to keep an eye out for them. Sexting. This is a fun one. A picture or a screenshot can last forever and be shared quickly. They spread. It's easy. On an Android, you press the power and the up button, take a screenshot within a second. Legal issues with child pornography. So the laws are kind of changing, and I am by no means a legal expert, so don't take this as legal advice. But there have been cases where a 16-year-old would send a picture to his or her boyfriend or girlfriend, and then that person who was 16 would be charged with having child pornography on their phone. And it's child pornography, but there's an age, they're the same age, so it's kind of hard. And so laws have kind of been changing around this, because there's been cases where a 16-year-old is now labeled as a child predator and has to be registered because their girlfriend sent them a picture or boyfriend sent them a picture. And so you gotta be careful with this. So kids need to know that there are child pornography laws that they could accidentally or inadvertently get charged with. Like I said, I think some states are changing this rule. So if they're both 16, obviously they're not going to try to charge them with that. But not all states have followed that roadmap, so they got to be careful with that. Gaming. So gaming is a fun one. Gaming has evolved, so it's not just Pac-Man, or Centipede, or the good classics. These are full-blown, war games, driving games, rob people. I'm a gamer. I love games. I personally don't believe that games make people do bad things, but it's sometimes hard for kids to differentiate reality versus the game. And these games are extremely graphic. The graphics are absolutely amazing at how detailed they can go. And games they're no longer just on the PC, your phone. Great gaming source. I think I played most of my games on my phone, and the graphics are, again, amazing. So when we're talking about gaming as a threat, so what you need to really be worried about or doing is restricting games to age appropriate levels. Google Play Store and Apple Play Store let you put in those restrictions. Before you can download, Call of Duty Modern Warfare for your phone, you have to be a certain age. So this is something that you can do. Log into their phone, set the permissions, and now they can only download games that are safe for them. Games also allow for in-app purchases. Funny story for you. So I had a friend of mine, and his son was really good at Angry Birds, and he was on some insane level. And he's like, he beats these levels every other day. Well, one day he gets his credit card bill in, and his credit card bill was something like $100, $150 of these charges of 99 cents. Well, what was happening was, in the game, there's this magic bird, and it costs 99 cents, but he will go in and wipe the whole screen, and you win that level. So when his son couldn't beat a level, well, he just hit the button, buy that bird, whoop, wipe out the whole level. He won, progressed to the next level. It was genius. Until he got a $100 credit card bill. And so he ended up calling Google, I think, or Apple. And he was like, well, I didn't authorize this. My kid was doing it on my phone. He's like, I didn't know he was doing this. And I think they ended up refunding him all the money. And then a couple months later, we ended up reading a news article where the Play Store and Apple App Store were saying, hey, you know what? We should have put in restrictions, and we didn't, so we're going to let you put in for a refund. And so and you could apply for a refund. They don't offer that anymore. Now they say, you have to put in a fingerprint or a passcode in order to complete a purchase. So, moral of the story, make sure you lock down your phone to where if you make any purchases, that one-click buy is really easy and really simple and really nice. Not if you have kids, because they will go buy some crazy stuff and you will never know about it until you get the bill. Gaming safety. All right, so know the ESRB ratings. ESRB is the Entertainment Software Rating Board, which they set the ratings for different games. And the rating is based on age and content. So, gaming safety, do not share personal information in chat rooms. Talk about the game, that's it. Don't talk about mom and dad. Don't talk about where you live. Don't talk about your favorite dog or your school. Talk about the game. And strictly that. And kids need to know that. There's a good time and a bad time for talking about personal things in a game. Bad time to talk about personal things. Set time limits. You have to monitor what they're doing. So if you remember, we said 5% of kids were absent for school. There you go. We have to restrict their times. Hey, during the weekday, you can only play for an hour or two. Send them outside, get some sunlight, vitamin D. And so, and the other thing I was going to say is, the best way to see what they're doing is play the game with them. You get some one-on-one time with the kid, and you can also see what they're doing. There's a lot of times parents, they just don't know. I've heard people at work, oh, my kid's playing, Grand Theft Auto. And it's like, wow, you let your kids play that? Well, I don't know. What is it? And then you start explaining everything you can do in the game, and they just freak out, and they're calling home, and it's like, hey, fucking, throw it away. So, play with them and see what they're doing. It's the best way to learn, and you might actually have some fun doing it. So, chat rooms. Chat rooms can contain offensive language, sexual content, and predators. And this is for end games too. Many chat rooms contain webcam features, so they can see what your kids are doing, or they can try to convince kids to do things that they shouldn't be doing. There are many video sharing apps like TikTok and Periscope that children use. Periscope and TikTok I have not used. Um, I have heard the stories on Periscope where adults are trying to convince kids to do things that they shouldn't do. And so, who are you really talking to? It goes back to that, I can hide who I am. It's hard right now with the webcam going, but, you know, online it's easy. I can hide everything about me and convince you I'm something I am not. Um, and I know, sidebar, note, we're talking about these apps and all the bad things that can happen on them. And there is a lot of bad things that can happen on them, but there are some good things. So, this isn't one of those things where you say, well, you can never use that because, people can see you. Well, okay, yes, that's true. Be smart about it. Maybe don't let them see you. Only post, uh, safe things, or, sit with them and show them things that they can post. Um, so anything good can be turned into something bad. It's all in how you use it. But you have to watch out for the people that are doing bad things, trying to get you to do bad things too. So, 21% of children surveyed said they visited chat rooms where they could talk to strangers. These were young kids in this survey. And so, that's when you're talking about young kids and they're talking to strangers, you won't go to the park and talk to a stranger, so you got to be careful online. Why are you talking to them? 25% of those children gave a stranger their phone number. This is a crazy one. So, we had something similar happen at work. We had a kid, he called our number and he said, "You're my phone number or phone neighbor." So basically what a phone neighbor is when, let's say your number is 423 6489. You call 423 6490. That's your phone neighbor. And so this kid sounded like he was maybe 9 or 10, called us at work, and he's like, "Oh yeah, we're phone neighbors." And he just started talking to us. And he called us out of the blue. He had no clue who we were. And so I ended up getting on the phone and I was like, "Hey, you're calling, a government line. You shouldn't be calling us. Like, you're tying up our line for this." He's like, "Yeah, but it's okay. We're phone neighbors." And it's like, "No, like, where are your parents at? Like, we need to talk to your parents. You should not be calling just random people and talking to them. And we have work to do." And he hung up and he never called us back. So it's the thought process of, here's this young child who just randomly calls someone because he saw this on Instagram or Twitter, Facebook. He saw it somewhere and he thought, "Oh man, that's really cool. I'm going to do that." And so what happens if his phone number, was a convicted felon that just got out, for molesting someone? That was his phone number. Do you want to call that person? So we got to be extremely careful about this stuff. 1 in 5 kids actually spoke to the stranger. This is mind-blowing. 1 out of 10 met a stranger from a chat room. Talking to someone, and that person convinces them that, "Hey, I'm a nice person, I'm your friend, hey, let's meet up and play this video game." 1 out of 10, they would actually go meet the stranger. So this is where this communication comes in. You just have to be able to talk to kids and say, you can't do this. This is not safe, and you have to explain why. So chat room safety. One of the things that you can do is choose an alias that does not tie back to you. An example of this is Stormtrooper01. It's a great username. If my username was Stormtrooper01, it says nothing about me except I like Star Wars. If a person starts asking inappropriate questions, Talking about drugs, alcohol, leave, sign out, get out of there. Um, or go grab your parents and say, hey, this is, they're talking about this. What do I do? You can tell them, sign out, go unplug, just get away from it. Uh, if they start asking the child to do certain things that they shouldn't be doing, or telling them to go to certain sites that they shouldn't be doing, go tell the parents. And so these are things that you need to convey to your kids is, if you're going to be in this chat room, playing, Minecraft, that's fine. But if these people start doing this is what you need to do. You need to let us know. And you have to make sure that they know they're not going to get in trouble for it. Even if you told them, hey, don't go to the chat room and talk to people, and they still do it, if they come back and tell you, hey, I'm in this chat room, I know I wasn't supposed to be there, but I did it, and now they're talking about this. Just, you gotta work with them and say, all right, well, let's go fix this. Sign them out, take screenshots if you can, and then, just get them out of the situation. So best practices. So this part is good for the adults as well as for children. So this is stuff that you can apply in your daily practices, but you should also be teaching your kids. Passwords. I love this one. So when you create a password, passwords should meet these requirements. At a minimum, length of 8 to 64 characters is recommended. Character types. So this is non-standard characters such as emojis. You can actually use an emoji for a password in some sites. So you can have heart, smiley face, kissy face, heart, party hat as a password. Long phrases are encouraged. They must not patch any entries prohibited password dictionary. And I'm going to show you a couple examples in the next slide. Reset. Required only if password is compromised or forgotten. So if you forget a password, change it. If it's compromised, change it immediately. If you get notified that Facebook was hacked into and passwords were leaked, go change your password. Even if they said yours wasn't affected, I would still change your password. Because you don't want 6 months down the road, they come back and say, oh, hey, you remember when we said we didn't leak your password? We actually did. Sorry. You might want to go change it. So just change it. Multi-factor, encouraged in all but the least sensitive applications. So bank account, social media, if they offer multi-factor authentication, use it. It is the greatest thing ever, and it will save you. So password examples. Here's a good ones and bad ones. The good one, if you notice on the left, we have dog, truck, fish, mission, good. So what we did is we took a bunch of words that mean something to us, but to no one else, and we just combined them into a long sentence. That makes a good password. It's a strong password. It's hard to break. The bottom one, the R, uppercase J, and huge long password, those are good too. Those are typically what I use. Hard to remember, impossible to remember, almost impossible to break. If you can use those, use those. I've started migrating more towards the dog, truck, fish, mission, good passwords. Bad passwords. Password. People still do it. And you can break into a lot of accounts with just password is the password. QWERTY. So people think, oh, they'll do symbols or patterns on the keyboard. As a hacker, I know to try those. Do1284. So when you use your last name and your birthday, so this one, it's, they're born in December of 84. People will do that. We have special tools that we can put in these, numbers or these patterns. and we can test them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people do it. Problem, I've seen it. It is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. This basically tells me that you went to a site, they said you have to have a password, you didn't want to do it, so you type that in. And so when, as a hacker, if I'm trying to attack something and it has passwords, we have something called a dictionary, and it's just this huge list of passwords to try out. I mean, we're talking millions of them. And we just go down the list. The computer does it. And because it's a computer, it can go through that list rather quickly. And we'll put these in there. And they will open up accounts. So don't use them. Just stick to the good passwords. So when we're talking about these passwords, it's hard to remember all of them. Everything requires a password. And you lose track of them, especially when you're using these hard passwords to remember. And you're not supposed to reuse passwords. And so what I really recommend to people is there's two major companies. LastPass is the one that I use. So that's why I put a screenshot. 1Pass is really good too. It has high rankings. There's a couple others out there I really don't recommend. LastPass or 1Pass. The only two I will ever recommend. And so what it is it's a way to store your passwords online securely, and you can keep track of everything. And they'll all autofill the passwords for you. It works on your phone. And so it's a good way to ensure that every site has a different password. And here's why that's important. So I recently found a text file online that contained username and passwords of people that got phished. So it was all their account information. And it was for, I think, iCloud. Well, I go into the iCloud account. Sure enough, that username and password works. Well, let me go check their Facebook. Username is their email address, same password. Now I got their Facebook account. Well, let me go check their email. Go log in their email. Hey, guess what? Same password works. So now I have their email, I have their iCloud, I have their Facebook. Well, let me go find their bank. So I go search their emails. You can see what bank they use. Go to the bank and say, hey, try that password. It doesn't work. And they say, but we'll let you reset the password. Just click the reset password link and we'll email you a security code. Perfect. I have access to the email. So I do that. And you just go down this road. And true story, I did this to a guy. And I ended up getting his bank account. I took all his money, transferred it to another account he had, reset the password to something that I couldn't even remember. And I had the guy's phone number. So got online. I called him from a number that he couldn't trace back. And I told him, hey, you are at a ball game. You just bought something from a concession stand for $15. And, oh, hey, by the way, your account's been shut down. You have no more money. I think I left him like $40 to get through the day. That was nice. And the guy was freaking out. And he's like, who are you? I was like, I am your friend. And so, sure enough, a couple days later, got an email from him because I left him a way to contact me. And he's like, you took all my money you put into my savings account. I was like, yeah, I'm not going to steal from you. That's not what I do. And so what I did was pretty illegal. But I think I was 16 at the time. So I was a nice hacker. Let's just say that. So you don't reuse passwords. What I also like about LastPass is you can set up a family account. So me and my wife both use it. And so there's a couple sites like for our bills. Some of them, they don't let you have two people have access to the bill, which is insane. So for our water bill, we share a username and password. Well, in LastPass, what you can do is you can set it up to where you can share certain passwords with family or whoever you say. So they log in, we both see it, so we both know our password to the bill site. If anyone wants to pay that one, let me know. This is great for kids. You need to know their passwords because in a little bit, we're going to talk about how to monitor everything. You're going to need to know their passwords. So if you set this up for a family and you tell your kids, hey, you can use this, we'll set your passwords here. Now you have access to all their accounts. Unless they create it on the side and they just don't tell you about it. And then, yeah, you're kind of hosed. So it's a good way to monitor what they're doing. Trust but verify. And it helps ensure that they're always using a good password. So I really highly recommend it. They offer a free version. I think the paid one's like $12 for a year. It's super cheap. Two-factor authentication. So what is two-factor authentication? So when you go to log into a website, you have your username and password. That's one factor, is something you know, which is your username and your password. Plus, you have a security code, which is randomly generated, and the site will say, what's that code? And that's normally on your cell phone. And so if you know both of those things, it will let you in. So when I log into Facebook, it'll ask me for my username and password. Then it'll ask me for this random security key that's changing every 30 seconds. And if I can plug in the right code, it lets me in. So it's factored, or it's authenticating against two different things. Google Authenticator is free, super easy to use. I highly recommend it. If you work in an industry where they use like little RSA tokens to log in to do your timesheet or to log into company resources, same exact thing. It's just a random number that's constantly cycling. Your kids can use this. Great thing. Really locks down everything. So we're talking about best practices. Antivirus and malware. These are the companies I recommend. There's a lot of them out there. Kaspersky is one I didn't put on here. Microsoft has their own that's really good. These are probably the more common ones. And so if you have a computer, use it. Your phone. We're seeing more and more attacks against phones. Viruses are coming out for phones, malware for phones. The mobile market is huge for hackers right now. So put it on your mobile devices. A lot of them even offer, tracking. If your phone is stolen, it'll remotely wipe your phone. It'll take pictures for you. And it'll also scan apps. And so we're seeing a lot of bad apps get into the app stores. So great to have, especially on your phone and computer. I think Avast has a really good free one that I think that's what I use right now. It's a little annoying. They keep popping up, every few days saying, hey, we'll give you the 60% off. No, the free's just fine for me. Apple users. I'm about to break your heart, and I'm sorry, but I got to do it because I'm a Windows user. So in 2018, the development of Mac OS malware tripled. So all those commercials that Apple put out and said, no viruses and stuff like that, it's a lie. They get viruses. They get viruses just like Windows. Now that their popularity has gone up, they're getting more and more. So 250,000 new malicious programs every single day are coming out. 250,000 today. 250,000 tomorrow. Just because you're on an Apple does not mean you're protected, and you don't need antivirus. You don't need any of this stuff. You need it more than anyone else. And that the way I still explain it to people is Microsoft. Microsoft's been getting beat up. Constantly since day one, since Windows, 3.5, they've been getting beat up, and people have been building viruses and exploiting them and breaking into them and hacking into them. And so Microsoft has gotten really good at defending itself because it's been beat up so much. Apple had a small user base. Not many people used it. It wasn't as popular. They didn't get beat up. So they never had to really defend themselves. Well, then they started to get more popular, and there's more user bases out there. So now hackers are turning their attention to it and saying, man, if I want to get more people, I can go hit an Apple and get more information, or I can steal more information. So they started attacking them. And Apple wasn't ready for it. Apple wasn't ready for that type of security. And so both Windows and Apple are hackable. They both get viruses. There's probably more for Windows because it's a bigger user base, but Apple's really starting to get beat up. iPhone is the same way. Android, same thing. If it's online, it's going to get attacked. So prepare yourself. Get defensive. Put a good antivirus, put a good malware program on there, and just keep yourself protected. So just don't think because the company says, hey, we don't get viruses. Yeah, you do. All right, so let's start talking about some of the fun things. What can you do to monitor the home and mobile devices so you can see what your kids are doing, you can control what they're doing? And so think of your corporate environments. My users at work, we see everything. We can control everything. If we don't want you to go to a website, we will not let you go to a website. If we want to see what you're doing all day long, we will see every little thing you do. And so we have that capability. So when you're trying to protect kids, those same tools you can use. You're just not going to use the $100,000 appliances and software that we use. You're going to use a cheaper version, but it still does the same thing. So resources you have, use what is already available to you, and it's free. I like free. Free is amazing. Doesn't cost me a thing. So you have things that are built into your devices already. So I'm going to give you a couple links. These are for Android and iOS. Basically, it is how to get into the settings to set permissions for kids or family members. And so you can really restrict what they're doing. You can put age content restrictions on things. And so it's really good to look in there and see what they offer. I know with every build of Android and iOS, they're always improving on this. They're releasing more features. So look and see what's in there. See, check out what settings you like and, how they can apply to you and help you. Your TV. A lot of people these days have smart TVs. Even your DirecTV, your cable box, they all offer these. You can go in there and say, hey, set an adult rating. Anything beyond this, you have to have a PIN code. Don't set the PIN code to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Your kids will try it. You have to set it to something difficult. And watch out when you're putting in that PIN code, because your kid will sit next to you and watch you. And they will memorize what you are typing in. Promise you. Ask my parents. One of the other things that you can put in here is, especially for cell phones, and this is for cell phones, what does your carrier provide you? So I'm with Verizon, and Verizon has a family protection plan. And so from there, I can go in there and I can restrict what numbers people call. So if my son had a phone, he doesn't, he's a month old, a little early. But you can go in there and say, all right, well, I'll give my kid this phone, but these are the only numbers you can call. That's it. These are the sites you can go to, or these are the apps you can download. Or you can put geofence in there and say, hey, from 8 in the morning to 4 o'clock, they're supposed to be at school. Here's the GPS coordinates for the school. If they leave that area, I want you to notify me. So see what your phone carrier offers you. Call them. And, a lot of times they're going to charge you for some of these features. but they're really nice to have. Works really well. So use it. Keep the devices where you can see them. This is probably the biggest advice I can give you. How do you monitor what your kids are doing? Watch them. Keep the computer out of their rooms. Keep tablets, phones out of their rooms. Put the gaming system in the living room. If you are going to keep it in their room because you want to watch TV while they're playing their games, make it to where the TV is facing the door, so you can just walk by and you can see what's on the screen. Keep their door open. Make it a rule that, hey, you have to keep your door open. I have to be able to see what you're doing, and monitor it. That's the easiest way to do it, and it works. One of the other things that we really highly recommend is a group charging station. And so what I mean by that is, in the kitchen or in your living room or your walkway somewhere, have a station where you have all your cables and all your chargers all there. And at night or at a certain time, you say, all right, everything goes on there to get charged. That's the only place you can charge your device. And so don't let them charge it in the room. Just keep it there. It's out in the open. And then that way, at night, they're not using the phone because it's out there charging. Another free resource. This is a really cool program. It's by OpenDNS. I think it's now a Cisco product. And so what OpenDNS does is you go to their website, you sign up, and they give you directions on how to configure it on your router. And so this is only for devices that are on your home network. Cellular devices will bypass this left and right. So here you can sit there and see where we have the filtering level. I did custom, so I can choose what I want to filter. And then I configured my router to point to this DNS server, which is a domain name server. And so if I put on, let's say, adult themes or dating. Let's say I turned on dating. If I go to match.com, it's not going to allow it. It's going to pop up a window and says, you're not allowed to go here. Try again. And this is absolutely free. The only thing you really have to do with this is they have a small application that you install on one of the computers in your house, and it will auto update their site with your current IP address. Because with your internet provider, they assign you an IP. And quite possibly every 30 days you could get a new IP. It just depends on how your ISP is configured. So this will constantly keep them up, OpenDNS updated with what your IP address is. And so it's a great service. I like it. I use it. I use it for adware and a bunch of other things that we just don't want people, to go to. So I have a friend or someone comes over and they're on our network, we kind of block them from, trying to visit all the bad stuff. I want to keep my network clean. So really great program. It's 100% free. So go check it out. But like I said, it only works for devices that are connected to your home network. So on my phone, if I'm using my phone's Wi-Fi, this will work. If I turn Wi-Fi off and I go to the cellular service, bypasses this. So there is a limitation with this. Bark. So Bark is not free. It is an app that gets installed on your devices. I believe it only works on mobile devices. I don't know if it works on computers. So the Bark app has protected 3.6 million children. It has prevented 16 school shootings and 20,000 severe self-harm situations detected. So here's what I like about Bark. This is really good for your older children. So you don't want to be the helicopter parent where you're constantly looking over everything. I'm not going to lie, if you had to go through every log of what they were doing, you're going to be doing that all day long. So what they did is they took a different approach where uh, you configure it to look at certain apps or look at their phone, and if it detects something, it will tell you, hey, you might want to go check this out. We think we found something. And so I reached out to the company and I had to ask them a few questions about it. And they're constantly updating it to know like all the short code and all the new lingo that kids are using so they can detect it. So you don't have to keep up to date on all the latest lingo. It will do it for you. It's able to monitor, what is it? Email, text messages, a lot of other apps. The company did say on their website that they detect more with Android on the Android OS than they do iPhones, just because of how iPhone handles security. But it's still great. I love this program. And so this is what the program looks like. And so you install it on your child's phone or device, tablet, and you put in the apps. And you're going to need the username and password to these apps. If you're using LastPass, like we were talking about, you would already know those, so you can plug them in. Or you just tell the kids, put in your password. If you want the phone, this is how we're going to do this. And so it will scan conversations and it'll constantly look for stuff. And then on the right, you'll see, this is what you would see as the parent. And it says, hey, there's a potential issue. You need to review it. It happened on Instagram. And someone sent a message saying, you're very mature for 14. I'm 23. Are your parents home? That's a red flag. You have a problem. So you can see this, and you can look on the left, 8,410 activities analyzed. That was probably before lunch. So it's scanning and it's going through everything in real time, quicker than you can do it. And so it's just bringing what you need to see to the forefront. All the other, what your kids are doing, you don't care. You want them to have their privacy. This allows you to monitor that. So I really like this app. I believe the price was $10 a month. I want to say it was $10 a month. You have to pay for it. But well worth it to me. Just great program. The next one, and this again is not free, it's Circle. It initially started out as a Disney app. I think it's still marketed by Disney. It's an appliance, and so by appliance I mean it's a piece of hardware that gets attached to your network. And it's also an application that gets installed on devices. It's not cheap. It's $129 for the device, but it includes 1 year of monitoring. After that, it's $9.99, $10 a month to use it. And so the nice thing about this is it protects your home network. So anything that happens on your home network, from smart TVs, tablets, computers, cell phones, it'll cover. It has an application that goes with it. So if your child gets off Wi-Fi and goes to cellular signal only, they're still covered. One of the things I use to determine what a good program is I did a Google search and I put in there, I have a Circle. How do I bypass it? I want to know how to get around it. And what I found was a bunch of, there was a few on Reddit where those kids saying, oh yeah, my parents have this. How do I get around this thing? And the good thing about the Circle one was everyone said, you can't. They have not figured out a way around this. One of the kids said, well, you can go disconnect it, but your parents are going to get notified that it's disconnected, but you can go do what you need to do and then reconnect it and just tell them that the signal went out or the Wi-Fi went out. Um, Others said, "Oh, go log into your parent's phone and disable it, or change the settings on the parent's app." So if you use this, make sure your phone's locked down so your kids don't go in there and change the settings. But it shows you how devious we can get. Um, so this is where the hacker in me comes in, and it says, "All right, you're telling me I can't do this. Let me figure out how to do this, and so let me see if I can get around your rules." So here's what the app looks like. Limit usage. So you remember when we were talking, we said, kids were staying up late and they're missing school, and, we don't know about it because quite frequently as parents, we're in bed sleeping, we're passed out. So in here, you can use the app and say, all right, Monday through Friday, this is your bedtime. This is when you can start using your phone again. And if they get online, during those off hours, the device won't let them connect. And so it's kind of nice. You can control when they get online. Force them. You have to go to sleep. We have friends that use this, and they hooked it to their smart TVs. So the TVs won't turn on. So they can turn them on. They get no channels. They hooked it to the phones, to the tablets. So when they say bedtime, it's like lights out, no internet. They're done. Kids can't get around it. It's for the kids, though. The adults can still do whatever they want to do. So filter media. You can set what apps that they can use. So if you sit there and say, you know what, you're too young, you shouldn't be on Facebook, shouldn't be on Instagram, FaceTime, we're not going to allow it. The app will let you do that. It'll let you control what they can put on their phone, and it'll block it all together. YouTube. I love YouTube. You can find videos on everything on how to fix anything. I YouTubed how to create this video presentation. And so you can set it to where, all right, they can use YouTube, the restricted one though. So they can only view the kid-friendly stuff. And really cool things. And they even put little filters in there so you can do it by teen, adult, kid, multiple kids. And so what I like about this is pause all services and eat dinner as a family. So mom or dad, when you say it's dinner time, you can sit there and scream through the house, hey, everyone at the table, it's time to eat dinner. Or you can just log into the app, hit that pause button, and kill the internet. And they will come running downstairs. And you can also put filters for different kids based on age group. What your 13-year-old, what you're filtering for them versus what you're filtering from your 8-year-old, two different things. So you can separate it and make them, appropriate or age appropriate. What you can also do is you can put in a parents mode. So, if you don't want your kids going to a gambling site, but, mom and dad want to bet on the Cowboys game, you can allow that. So just because you're restricting your kids doesn't mean you're restricting you. And so this is great. As an IT person, this is something I'm going to be using. There's other things that we can do to, make life a little bit more fun for the kids and get them to do what we want. Change the password to the Wi-Fi daily. You can't access Wi-Fi until you do, your chores. Once you do all your chores, then we'll give you the password to the Wi-Fi. So, and there's other companies out there. I looked at a lot of them. Net Nanny, Norton Family, Kaspersky, and they all basically do the same thing. They all have their own way of doing it. I know Net Nanny had some really good reviews. The big thing is, I can't review them all for you, is look at them. And before you even look at them, make a list of what you're trying to do. What are you trying to accomplish? What's your game plan? And then you go to these companies and you look at them and say, all right, You can do this, this, and this. You can meet everything on my list, or you can only meet a few things on my list. And find what will cover your list. And that's the easiest way. And then you want to make sure you look at, does it cover all the devices? Is it only for computers or only for things that are on my home network? If kids have a cell phone, you need something that works off cellular signal only, because that will bypass a lot of things. So think of security as an onion. And so I use this analogy a lot. I used it a couple times in this classroom, I think in every class I've taken, because it makes perfect sense to me. So think of security as an onion. So when you have an onion, you have the core, you have the heart of the onion. And so you want to get to it. Well, to get to it, you have to go through all these different layers of the onion. So as a hacker or an attacker, I beat you up. I take off that first layer. I beat it. Well, now I got another layer I got to get through. So now I got to try this all over again, and I got to go after that area of protection. And I got to beat that. And you just got to keep doing it and doing it and doing it. And then you eventually get to the core. But really, once you hit a couple layers, you're done. You're not even trying it, or it's not worth your time, or it's just not possible. And so in the professional world, that's what we do. We layer our defenses out. We have firewalls. Well, we have another set of firewalls. We have business rules. We have rules on the computers. We have user agreements that we have. And so we put all this stuff in there. It's just, so if you attack us, you have to beat up every layer of security that we have. And if you're able to get through all of that and get to our core, we've really messed something up if you're able to get that far. It happens. We're humans. We make mistakes. The computers do exactly what we tell them to do. And we probably didn't configure it right. So when you're thinking of security for your kids, put layers in place. You can do all the technology stuff. You got to add in the communication piece. And then you put in the monitoring piece, and you just put all this stuff on there. You may just make it harder for people to do harm. So communication. Communication is really the key. It's the focal point. One of the things that you need to talk to them about the dangers. They need to know what's out there. You can't sugarcoat it. You have to explain to them, who are they talking to online might not be who they think they are. They shouldn't share passwords, shouldn't share personal information. You don't send a picture of your credit card and put it on Twitter. You got to tell them you can't do this. Why? Why is that security code on the back of your credit card so important? Kids don't know this. It wasn't until college that I realized how a website can figure out if you're using a Visa or MasterCard based off the number. I didn't know that there's actually a checksum in the number that validates. And the back code is the validation code. There's a lot of things in there you don't learn. And so you got to teach them. You got to show them what the dangers are. They can come talk to you. Kids have to know that they can come talk to you and not get in trouble for every little thing. They have to know that, they can go to mom and dad or grandma and grandpa and say, hey, this happened. How do I handle this? What do I do with this? They need to know that they can come talk to you. If they feel like they're just going to get in trouble for everything, they're not going to come talk to you. Because why do I want to go talk to mom and dad? They're just going to yell at me and ground me and, send me in my room and take everything away. Have them sign an acceptable use policy. And this is why I like this. So at work, when you work with me, our organization, we make you sign this policy letter. And the policy letter states, hey, I will not go to adult sites. I will not go to social media sites. I will, only go to sites that relate to my job. I'm not going to read the news all day. It outlines what the rules are. It tells you what you're allowed to do and what we say is acceptable. And so you sign it saying you've read these rules, you understand them, you agree to them. And if you breach it, we can come back and say, look, hey, here's your signature. We told you this was unacceptable. Why are you doing this? So do the same thing with your kids. Dumb it down a little, make the rules a little bit simpler for them to understand. But sit there and say, this is what we expect. This is what we say is acceptable. And if you go outside of it and we catch you, there's consequences. So they can't come back and say, well, you didn't tell us that. Well, here's your signature. It opens that communication, and be careful with what you hear too on social media. Just because you don't know about an app doesn't mean it's bad, doesn't mean it's good either. And so you have to investigate it and kind of learn. And, I always tell parents, like I had one person that asked me, is Periscope bad? And this was when Periscope first came out. I don't know. I've never used it. Let's go download it. Let's go see what we can do. So I downloaded it. I created an account. I start searching, for special emojis and keywords, like NSFW, and start searching for this stuff and seeing what pops up. What am I seeing? And you start seeing some of the crazy things on there. Like, all right, well, yeah, there's a lot of bad stuff on here. Probably need to be careful, because there's some good stuff. Kids can learn from it and they can have fun with it. They just have to use it right, and they need to be protected. So resources. I love this resource. So ISC Square has a partner with, it's called Cyber Safety Kits. And so if you are a parent or educator, you can actually go to the website, and they have 3 comics out right now. I think they have more in the future. They have trading cards. And so I really recommend you get these. It's a good way to give it to your kids, and it helps teach them. Like the first one here, it's lesson 3. It's called Be Kind Online. And it talks about bullying and, being nice to people. The second one here is lesson 2. It's a pause before you post. So it talks about what you're putting on social media. And so it's a nice method that knows how to, it talks to kids at a kid level. The comic is really good. And so if you're an educator, they actually have a program that you can go download. You can buy a kit, and it comes with like 30 comics, 30 trading cards, posters that you can hang in your classroom. And it gives you a curriculum that you can teach. And so it's really cool. Highly recommend it. Some parents, depending on your age, you didn't grow up with technology, so you don't know all the ins and outs. So it might be beyond lost to you. So it really helps you teach them and also teach yourself. They also have some online videos and video games that, it's learning through fun. And so I just highly recommend it. Christmas is coming around the corner. I would put this in there. Great stocking stuffer. It's yeah, I can't say enough about it. So recap. Let's kind of go over everything. This was a lot of information. I'm sure I missed some things. This is hard to give a lot of information in an hour and a half, 2-hour presentation. So I apologize if I kind of bounced around a lot. Important tips. Let's talk to your kids and reinforce the conversation. One of the things that the study that I used for this said was, kids admitted, parents talked to me about this. They told me this stuff. That was it. There was no reinforcement. It was kind of like a one and done conversation. This is a conversation you need to have a lot. Technology is just getting bigger and in the house more. So you got to keep this conversation going. And so drill it in. Talk to kids about passwords. Parents, you use good passwords too. Make sure you know their passwords, because you're going to need that for monitoring. Review social media privacy settings. Go over this with your kids. Go through the settings with them. Adjust yours. It's good to review them. And once again, don't do this, once and you're done. They're constantly changing and modifying settings. So do this, once a year or once a quarter. Just do like a cybersecurity checkup and go check your privacy settings on social media. I do it all the time. I'm trying to make sure that, my family can see what I want them to see. Coworkers can see a limited amount of stuff. Boss can see nothing. He can just see that, hey, we're Facebook friends. That's about it. Turn off geotagging where available. Like I said, if you want to track where kids are at, you have to have it in there for some applications. But Facebook, turn it off. Instagram, turn it off. Turn it off where you can, and review it. Explain sexting and the consequences of it. This is a conversation you're gonna have to have a lot. Know the signs of cyberbullying. Review them. And really pay attention to it. This is a tough one. The signs are not always easy to see, but when you start to see them, you gotta go attack this. You gotta go talk to them. If they don't want to open up to you, go talk to the parent or teachers. Talk to the school. Talk to the people around them. You gotta go after this. Start reviewing their social media. Do you see it in there? If you do, make sure you get the screenshots. I will say that, years ago, law enforcement just was not prepared for this. They had no way of, dealing with the online world. They've gotten a lot better. The FBI has gotten a lot better. When you start crossing state lines, FBI is going to get involved. For these predators, it happens. They start talking to people. They will drive to, where you are, and you think your kid's going to go play with, Susie or Johnny, and Johnny turns out to be a 65-year-old man that drove there, and you never see Susie, your kid, again. So you gotta be super careful with this. Monitor and control. Use the apps. Obviously not everyone can afford to pay for these apps, like Bark or the Circle, but I'd highly recommend it. I know the Circle, you can actually now get it in some Netgear routers. It's built in already, so you don't have to have the separate appliance. They're easy to set up, easy to configure. They have great tech support. Reach out to your local community and look for, an IT guy like me. A lot of times we'll love to come over and help you set it up. It gives us something to tinker with, and, we'll do it. So more resources for you. Like I said, this was a short presentation. We're on about an hour and a half now. And so I could talk to you all night long about this. But I'd recommend going to these websites and getting more information. Stay up to date with the information. Security changes constantly. There's always new standards coming out. There's new things, new applications coming out that you need to look out for. One of the best things, and I'm a new parent, so take this as you see fit. But really, the best thing I can recommend is keep your kids off social media or technology. If before a certain age, age 5, you know, and younger, shouldn't be using technology, in my opinion. Keep them away from it. They've done studies, and some people say, well, I want my kids to use technology so they're advanced and they're staying ahead of everyone else. Well, it just doesn't work that way. They actually found that kids that didn't use a cell phone compared to kids that did use a cell phone, they're exactly the same, except the kid that didn't use the cell phone had more social skills. So bring in technology when it's age appropriate. It's not a great babysitter. I hate to tell you this. I mean, it works. It sounds nice. You can just throw a tablet in your kid's hand and they'll start screaming or stop screaming, but it's not the best thing out there for them. And it's hard. I know. God, I have a newborn right now screaming, every hour for food. So it drives you nuts. I get it. One of the other things too is, especially for sleep, there's a lot of studies on blue light. So right now I'm talking into my computer monitor, and that's putting off blue light. And so blue light really messes with your sleep. And so a lot of phones these days are coming with a night mode, which basically they filter out, they kill the blue light, and it turns your phone into like a yellowish tint. And so it actually helps you sleep a lot better. And so if you don't believe me, this is my challenge to you, is 45 minutes before you go to bed, turn your phone off. Turn off your laptop, turn off the tablet. Have nothing in your face screen-wise. No TV, nothing. You will sleep better. So, sorry, a little tangent there. So here is some resources that I've provided. I am cyber safe is really good. Stopbullying.gov. Stay safe online, and these all sites will give you tips and tricks and things to look out for, and different conversations to have with your kids. I Am Safe actually has a presentation for kids, and so I really like it. I'm just not at the point in my career where I can talk to kids and be entertaining and keep them entertained. So I would be a horrible person to give that. I can talk to parents all day long. So that's basically the end of my presentation. And so in the description, because I'm going to put this on YouTube, so it'll be down here somewhere, there will be a link to a form. If you could fill that form out for me and kind of let me know how I did. Did you learn something new? Did I totally bomb this? Or should my professor give me a solid A for this course? Just put it in there. And it's going to ask for a code word. The code word is tacos, because I'm from Texas and we like tacos. And if you do that, if you enter in the right code word and you put your email address in there, I'm going to randomly select a winner, probably a couple winners, and I will send you a prize, small item. It's nothing. It's not a new car or something. I'm not Oprah. But just for watching and, really give me some good feedback. This is a presentation that I can give to a larger group. So if you're a school principal or educator and you want teachers to get this presentation, I can definitely do that. Reach out to me if you're in my area. If you're not from my area, I can help you find someone that can give this presentation. It wouldn't be this exact presentation. It will be a presentation similar though, but not similar. So it's all about cybersecurity for kids. And so, or if you have, a church group and you want to do this for parents, we could definitely do that. The cyber world is scary. It can be beneficial though. So we just got to be smart, play smart, and do good things. So, with that being said, I am done. I hope you learned a lot. Um, put your comments down below if you have questions. I'll try to answer them for as long as I can. And then definitely please fill out that form, sign up, and I hope you win the uh, contest. And yeah, we'll be good. Y'all have a good night.